Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, honorable ministers, Your Excellencies, Michelle Kerf, the World Bank Country Director of PNG and Pacific, Vivek Patak, who we just heard from, IFC Director for East Asia and the Pacific. Thomas Jacobs is also here, the IFC Country Manager for the Pacific, who also recently was part of the delegation that went to Beirut for the World Exchange Congress, which we will be hosting, in fact, next year. Lase, our good friend, and of course Deva. Ladies and gentlemen, it gives me much pleasure to be here at this official opening of the World Bank IFC offices. As you know that we have been talking about this for a number of years. It's now finally come to fruition. As has been stated earlier on, ADB was very generous in hosting them. As they were the squatters in the ADB offices, and it's great to have them here. It also demonstrates the fact that Fiji is very much a hub of the Pacific. We are able to offer various services, a particular level of sophistication in our financial services sector, in our infrastructure, our airline connectivity, and that's obviously something we want to build upon. I'd like to, a lot has already been said, and there's a bit of a saying, they say that he who speaks the last six needs to only speak little because the others have, with greater wisdom, spoken before them. But I want to re-echo the sentiments as said earlier on, and in fact give my appreciation to IFC and World Bank, because they've partnered with us, and it's worth actually repeating the number of quite critical infrastructure projects that participated us within, not just infrastructure, but also, for example, the green bonds. The Fijian green bonds, of course, was launched at the London Stock Exchange. It was done in record time, the launching of the bonds, working with the RBF and the World Bank and IFC. It's never happened before, and we are the only emerging market with the green bonds. Only the third sovereign to actually issue green bonds. The other two sovereigns that did do that was France and Poland. It's a huge achievement. We would not have been able to do it without IFC and World Bank's assistance. I'd like to thank them for that. Please put your hands together, because they've been able to put us on the world map because of that. And again, we've also, very recently, we've had the PPP with the Lautoka and Ba hospitals. Again, it was done in record time. I'd like to thank the team that was part of it, Dawal and various other people who are with him. And we see Aspen from Australia, and they'll take charge of the hospital around about June, July of this year. It will make a phenomenal change to the level of services available to ordinary Fijians. As I've said on a number of occasions, if any one of us, God forbid, at the moment has a heart attack, there's not a single Fijian doctor that can carry out open heart surgery. We have to go to Australia, New Zealand, or India, or various other places. To have that kind of service available in Fiji, a number of other procedures that currently aren't available, will be a game changer. Not just in respect of the services available to our citizens, but also the ability to develop a medical tourism sector too. We'll be able to, these offices actually provide services to many other Pacific Island countries, to be able to offer those services to them, and of course beyond that too. And as we've discussed with the Australians, who have actually very generously helped us, DFAT was part and parcel of this particular PPP, where they funded the IFC work, and we look forward to them funding the next stage of it, where they'll be hand-holding with us in the 2 years to be able to build the capacity domestically within the Ministry of Health and also the Ministry of Economy to be able to manage this PPP. I also like to acknowledge FNPF. FNPF, which actually is the largest cash holder in Fiji, needs to look at, and in fact is working on various investment opportunities. And these are some very critical strategic investment areas. So it is wonderful to have organizations like World Bank and IFC actually based in Fiji, so we have a hands-on approach. We're able to tap into their resources, not just in Fiji, but of course beyond that. The launching of the Southern Cross cable connectivity to Samoa, and the fact that we build out a pipe. The pipe comes from Samoa to Botswana, where we have the Southern Cross cable landing. It passes through Savu and Taveuni, and we took the opportunity, and we were funded by the World Bank, and have now a pipe has landed in Savu. It means that the people in Vanuatu, people in Taveuni, will have the level of connectivity, the bandwidth will increase almost over 100% almost immediately. Now this presents a number of tangible opportunities for people in Vanuatu. As I always said, we like less people from Vanuatu to come to Viti Levu. In fact, we want more people from Viti Levu to go to Vanuatu. There's the opportunity to develop the economy in that part of Fiji. So these are very critical areas, and we look forward again to working with them. And I'd like to also announce the fact that after this function, we'll be signing an MOU with the IFC / World Bank in respect of making housing accessible to ordinary Fijians, and getting the cost of housing down, making sure that we have enough stockpile of homes for rental purposes, public rental purposes. This is part and parcel of our vision in respect of providing a number of tangible results for ordinary Fijians, because home ownership in Fiji is in fact quite low at the moment. We want to increase that. Of course, we need to think outside the box. As Fijians, we need to know that we can own a home as a strata title. Many people think owning a home is one block of land with one house in the middle of the block of land. We need to start thinking differently. And we hope to partner that and hopefully get some bricks and mortar in the ground within 18 months to 2 years, Deva. Ladies and gentlemen, to be able to partner with such organizations and multilateral organizations, we also as a country, and I keep on saying this continuously, we need to have a mind shift. We need to change our minds, the way we look at business, the way we look at doing business both within government and outside government, how we relate to the private sector. I was actually astounded today reading some correspondence earlier this morning about people still talking about going back to PWD and not realizing the full breadth of tapping in to the private sector. And as a result, for example, the rebuild, and again I'd like to thank the World Bank with the rebuild after Cyclone Winston in particular, we have a $500 million rebuild. The ability to expend that type of money and be able to do it in a quick turnaround time could not have been done, would not have been done, and cannot be done without the private sector being involved. Because you're able to then not only get the construction up and running, but the ability to build back better, and the ability to at the same time create jobs. And as Michelle talked about creating jobs in the wider Pacific region, and that's one of our own focus today. So, ladies and gentlemen, again, to reiterate, Fiji has again been given the opportunity. This year we are chairing simultaneously, we chair of the Small States Forum, but also the chair of the World Bank and IMF governors. And it's a wonderful opportunity. I've been told the next time we'll get an opportunity to chair World Bank and IMF will be in 183 years' time. So most of us won't be around. So we look forward to working with the team to be able to ensure that our chairmanship is actually successful, and we're able to ensure that we do deliver. And we look forward to also working with all of you who are here. Many of you are key stakeholders. Some of you are coming from different embassies, our bilateral partners. We will be on the 29th of this month holding a donors meeting, development partners meeting before our budget, and we want to work together with all of you to ensure that our 5 and 20-year development plan is implemented successfully, so that we are able to deliver what we are supposed to deliver to our ordinary citizens, not just in Fiji, but of course in the wider Pacific. So with those few words, ladies and gentlemen, it gives me much pleasure to officially open this premises. Vinaka, thank you.
They're signing the housing agreement. You have a copy of the media release. You have it in your inboxes now.
You know that we have stated on a number of occasions that our goal is to provide a stockpile of homes, both for rental purposes and also home ownership purposes. The rate of home ownership in Fiji is comparatively low. We want to increase that. There's a general mindset in Fiji that you tend to buy your first home when you're in your 30s or 40s even for that matter, because that's when you become sort of financially a bit more stable. But we believe that people should start buying their own homes or accessing their own properties in the 20s. 50% of the population is below the age of 27. We need to ensure that these young people have access to housing. There are many people, for example, who have relatively good jobs, but they don't live on secure title land. And that is, of course, very, very critical. If we don't address it, it becomes a big problem because it creates a very vicious cycle. A lot of people miss out from being part and parcel of the mainstream financial system by not owning an asset. We need to be able to get rid of that particular situation. We are, of course, very keen to work with IFC. IFC, we've had some preliminary reports done. For example, as mentioned a couple of days ago, that it shows that the cost of construction in Fiji is relatively high. We had a lady, I forget her name always, she came from Indonesia, who did the cost assessments. For example, public rental housing, how much does it actually cost to build a flat? It was quite high. So we need to, of course, adopt new methodologies and new technologies of construction, because if you're able to bring down the cost base, then you're able to then pass on a home that is, of course, affordable. Now, the other point also that we'd like to stress, and it does require a little bit of planning and timing, is that we don't want to create suburbs that are, as was known in Fiji, simply known for what they call low-cost housing, because you tend to create then ghettos. And we also then do not necessarily have the people who may own the strata title or own the homes to be able to have what we call social mobility, because real estate should always appreciate. So, for example, if I buy a flat, a one-bedroom flat, and it's, I may, for example, you get married, you may get a promotion, you get more money in your bank, you want to then buy a two-bedroom house. You should be able to then sell that one-bedroom flat at an appreciated value. But if you're living in an area where everything is all depressed, financially depressed, it's deemed to be a ghetto, nobody wants to come in, then you do not get a return on your investment. So we need to be able to ensure that the plan that we come up with, whether it's creating housing estates, etc., it needs to have mixed pricing, it needs to have mixed price points. So you attract different people from different economic strata levels, and then the value of that real estate will continue to appreciate. And as been highlighted by Vivek also, we want to ensure that the homes that are built is climate resilient. We need to build not just climate resilient, but also be able to reduce our carbon footprint. So government currently is working on some change of regulations in respect of the type of infrastructure you need to put, the type of material you need to put in to reduce our carbon footprint. The third point, of course, is that generally in Fiji, when housing estates have been developed, etc., there has been no sort of sense of community around it, in the sense that you don't have local bus stands, you don't have local parks, you don't have local schools, you don't have local supermarkets. So people actually have to travel a number of kilometers to get out of that housing estate to go and access those services. You need to build self-contained. At the very least, some basic level of self-containment must be there, because that helps also to reduce your carbon footprint. It also ensures that you make those housing estates or housing development projects a lot more attractive. This is why the ministry is no longer called Ministry of Housing. It's called Ministry of Housing and Community Development. We want to develop communities, and that is very, very critical for us. So IFC, of course, is going to play a critical role. We look forward to them giving us the best advice. The one thing that I always say to them is, please do it yesterday. So the Green Bond was actually launched in record time. The PPP was done in record time, and hopefully in 18 months' time we'll be saying to you the housing project has been done in record time also. Thank you very much.
And I hope you'll come to inaugurate it.
Absolutely.